Welcome to the 2022 Winter Classic Student Cluster Competition Studio Update Show. Now, here are your hosts, Dan Olds and Addison Snell.
Dan Olds here, and this is another edition of the 2022 Winter Classic Invitational Student Cluster Competition Studio Update Show. Addison Snell is out on assignment. So, this is the show where we're going to be talking about, in this episode, we're going to do a little after-action report with the folks from NASA who spent so much time mentoring these kids through some of the NAS Par benchmarks. And let's go ahead and just introduce the team first. And let's start with you, Piyush. Let's talk about what who you are and what you do for NASA.
So my name is Piyush Mehrotra. I'm the Division Chief of the NASA Advanced Supercomputing Division, which is a facility which hosts NASA's premier supercomputer.
And that's something I should get in here, is that without NASA Ames, where you guys are from, nothing gets shot up into space, or if it does, it doesn't get tracked or anything, right?
Well, we are enabling technology, which allows the NASA researchers and engineers to develop the space vehicles and to figure out what would work and what would not work. And along with that, we are also doing aeronautics research in designing more efficient, eco-friendly aircraft, and Earth science, looking at Earth observational data, looking at planetary science, solar physics, and astrophysics. So here at the center, we support large-scale simulation from all missions.
Safe to say you keep yourselves busy.
Oh, absolutely.
Fantastic.
Yes.
Well, let's go on to Bill. Why don't you introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is Bill Thigpen. I'm the project manager for the High-End Computing Capability Project that's based in the NAS division. This project is responsible for providing the computing that Piyush was talking about. It's an agency-wide project and funded out of headquarters. And so our responsibility is to make sure that science and engineering challenges are met, and that we continue to provide a growing environment for the user community.
Excellent. Henry, you're next. Tell us about you.
Hi, my name is Henry Jing. I'm actually the Deputy Project Manager of HECC2 Bill. And I'm also running a group called the Application Performance and the Productivity Group. And some of the folks who are involved in the competition are it's from this group, including Sherry and Steve.
Okay. Well, Steve, let's talk to you next.
Hello, I'm Steve Heaston. I've been here at NASA for quite a while, helping users get better performance out of our supercomputer systems. And lately, I've been trying to pull them into the cloud, as well as on-premise hardware.
Okay, that's good. That's good. Now, Sherry, last but not least, because I don't know if this stuff would have happened without your relentless dedication to it. So, Sherry, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Sherry Chang. I've been in the NAS APP group for the past roughly 20 years. And within this group, there are many different tasks going on. For example, supporting users in general, or supporting high-profile users, new technology, and recently going into the field of cloud. And I myself, I'm involved in different parts of these different tasks. One area that I spend more time than the rest of my teammates be user education. So I guess in some sense, I'm probably the right person to be working on this student competition.
You definitely were. I know that the emails were flying hot and heavy as we were getting kids registered into it and getting them accounts, and you shepherded a lot of them through that process. But let's jump to you, Piyush, for just a minute here. And you were one of the the people at the very first when we brought this idea up who helped make it a reality. What is it that got NASA involved?
Well, Dan, you brought this opportunity to us, to Rupak and me, and we talked about it and realized that it is actually an excellent opportunity. And I particularly had two objectives that I wanted to complete. One, we have a great center, HPC center, and so this opportunity would allow us to expose the center to the students from these minority serving institutions and allow them to experience what it is to run on a HPC machine, how to write a parallel program, how to optimize it, how to make it run better. So that was the first objective that I had, to give them exposure and give them an experience of actually using machines such as ours. The second objective that I have is looking forward. I'm hoping that as we give them this experience, we can attract at least some of them to come back and intern with us and to grow in the area of HPC, either system development, application performance, or just as a computational scientist that can help users take their codes and make them run better on the system. So the first one objective was, I think, achieved. The second one, we still want to look forward to.
Offhand, I can think of at least one, maybe two students who were particularly excited about working with NASA during this challenge. And I will get those names to you.
Good. I do want to, I was not directly involved with the competition, so I do want to congratulate Sherry and her team and Henry and the team in running.
They did a great job.
I kept track of the Slack conversations, and like you said, messages were flying around trying to get them. And I think these guys, Steve, Gabrielle, Sherry, they really did an excellent job mentoring these kids.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And I wanted to say that as well. This ran well and it ran smoothly. It was great. And actually, Henry, one thing I do want to pull out is that you actually wrote the benchmarks that they ran, right?
Actually, well, I was one of the authors who wrote this benchmark called the multi-zone NAS Par benchmarks. Yes, it was developed at a NAS to gauge a certain types of application at NASA. And so this is one of the cases that has not been really fully used before. But it's a great way for a student to learn, how to get into the field of parallel computing for some of the cases that we have. These benchmarks actually mimic some of the real world applications that we are running on our system. Yeah.
So, Steve, did you say that you were in performance optimization, right?
Primarily, yes. That's what I've historically been doing.
So what were the secrets that the kids should have figured out from this? And how well did they do it?
How well is a valid question, and I actually didn't look at the spreadsheet to know enough of that one. But certainly, we were hoping they would look at the compiler options. There were some code tweaks, parameters more than anything that they were allowed to change, and then specifically how they ran on the machine, how they pinned, how they split up the processes, whether they're threaded or MPI. We were hoping they would get a lot of experience in those things.
I think that a lot of them did, absolutely. So, Sherry, what'd you see in the performance in the spreadsheet? What do you think?
I think I am quite impressed with multiple teams looking at the choices of compiler flags, the choices of MPI rings versus OpenMP thread, and knowing that they need to actually apply hyperthreading to take full advantage of the CPU's capability. And one area that is really also very, very important is to apply pinning. for many scenarios, many configurations that they use. If they don't apply pinning, they will actually get worse performance than without the OpenMP components into it. And so I'm glad to see many of them, they actually figure out almost all the components.
Oh, that's
that
great.
are needed.
Well, now, didn't you spend a couple of days at least running these benchmarks on this system and figuring out what the right flags were to select and things?
I would say that, yes, this is actually my first time trying to run this benchmark myself. And so it took me some time to figure out, of course, spending time to figure out how to get it to perform well. And also through the process, trying to think of what are the important ingredients that are needed for this training that I was going to produce, and putting things all together with just the right amount of knowledge that they need in order to run the benchmarks and going toward the right direction. And I'm glad that most of the kids, they got it. So I'm very happy about the outcome.
I am too. Did you get a chance to look at the spreadsheet, Bill? The results?
You muted, Bill?
Yeah, there you are.
Yes, I did. And, the thing that a couple of things impressed me, but one of the first was that everyone completed it. And I thought that was great, that all the teams were able to submit.
They at least got something in. Yes. Well, one team's a little iffy because I think they ran the wrong benchmarks.
Yeah, well, absolutely
But
true.
still,
They ran the wrong bench, but
they turned it in, though.
Results across the board, which I thought was really good. I was also impressed that it seemed like as you looked at the results, there was a nice even spread, sort of as you were looking at school to school. I have looked at some of the past results that were done at HPE, and that seemed to track into this group. But it was obvious these young people were interested in this and put a lot of effort into it. So
yes,
that was good.
Your results did change some of the places a little bit, in that I believe that it's just been another battle for second place. That Florida Agricultural and Mechanical managed to unseat Texas Tech Red Raiders for second place. Others seem to kind of hold their own, but it's exciting. I mean, there's just a handful of points separating the first and second place teams here. And that's a lot of fun, a lot of drama.
That's interesting.
It is. And Tennessee State has managed to run the table so far, and they're about 30 points ahead of the rest of the field, 40 points. But there's still 300 points to be had. So that's a big deal. And next up, the teams are going off to Oak Ridge. And they'll be running a machine learning kind of thing. I'm not totally tuned into what the application is, but what I'd like to hear from you folks is kind of going around the table again. What advice do you have for the teams in this next challenge and for potentially starting a career in HPC? And let's start with you, Steve.
I would say...
Go ahead.
I was to say, judging by some of the issues we've had on our system, reading the instructions was key in some of the cases.
Isn't that true for life? You gotta
it
read
is.
the
I understand.
instructions.
Yes. Yeah. I would, for HPC, I'm happy that they're trying. I mean, that's a lot of it. When I was in college, we didn't have such things like this. So, I mean, that gives me hope for the future. It's just develop a interest and a passion for this, and you'll do well in it.
Excellent. How about you, Sherry?
From this experience, I have one suggestion because the way we ran it was that we put together training material and made a recording, and at the same time we also distributed the slides at the same time. I personally feel that it may be better if the students are required to watch the training materials, the video first, because it has a lot more information than just the slide itself. And therefore, if they just read the slides without watching the video, they are actually missing a lot of knowledge already. And
that's
so,
a good idea. And actually, yeah, that's a good idea. You know what we could do, Sherry? We do this next year. We'll put a hidden code somewhere in your video. And if they don't have that code, they can't log on.
That's something useful to try.
Not a
I would
bad
like
idea.
to see that.
That's sneaky, Dan. That's sneaky.
That's just how my mind works. It's a gift.
Can you not do a live, that thing? Just do a live, not all the kids are available at the same time.
That's the problem. Not all the kids are available. And I'm just scared to death of technical issues suddenly sidelining it. But there are some things we could do to ensure that they watch the video. Codes and puzzles and things like that they would only see if they watch the video. So
yeah,
Henry...
The video itself is only 1 hour. I thought it's a well nicely recorded, and
it was very
that's
well
a very
done.
Great. It's a great approach to get people introduced ahead of time. And previously, we did mostly we focused on using slides and presentations, but it's not as effective. Seems to be as at least the quality, I think, is as good as
I think so too.
So I was surprised by that as well.
That was very good. So what's your advice to the kids, Henry? Both in their
of
in
course,
the competition
I agree with
and their
all
careers.
This, I agree with all, like Sherry and Steve said about the amount of effort you want to put it in there. Of course, it's going to give you the most benefit out of that, right?
I think we saw that very clearly.
You can see that from the team, especially the last team who managed to only get onto our system pretty much like the second day before the last day. And so that's not very helpful.
Last minute.
Last minute thing. Then you can see the score essentially is kind of reflect that. So yes, you have to get a passion of doing things. Once you get into that,
they're college students.
I mean, once you get in that, then you're going to get a good payback by work hard.
And we're certainly seeing that too in this part of the competition.
Yeah,
that there's some teams that did extremely well. So what do you have to add, Bill?
So, I'm hoping that some of the students looked at this and said that this is something that they'd really like to do, right? And if it is something they'd like to do, it would really be good if we could somehow learn that, right?
Yeah.
And that also goes with the universities. It's my understanding that these universities don't have regular access to large systems like we have.
Yep.
But if this is something, a relationship that helps the universities and something they would be interested in doing more of, I think NASA would be happy to talk to them about that. And so I'm hoping that people see this as something they can do in the future. And I apologize about the chihuahua in the back.
I wasn't going to say anything. I was going to just let it go. One of the things that you might not know that is part of this competition is that the winning university is going to receive a hardware grant from some of the vendors, or a cloud grant from perhaps one of the cloud vendors to allow them to have a dedicated HPC resource. Because you're right, Bill, it's not that they don't have much access to big machines. Some of these programs don't have any systems. That, it's the kids' laptops. They don't have anything that be clustered together, and we're hoping to solve that a little bit at a time throughout the years.
That would be great.
Yeah. I mean, just even a cluster of workstations or something would help out. So, Piyush, close us out. What are your words of wisdom for the students and for the competition and for their careers?
So, yeah, this was, I think, an excellent competition. I hope the students got a lot of experience out of it, enjoyed what they are doing. I know that they'll be working at Lawrence Livermore and I think Amazon and it. So different kinds of centers. So they should take this experience and see how they can, if they're really interested, pursue this career. We'd be happy to help, like Bill was saying, pursue internships for them. And in fact, going further, if the institutions want some help, want some resources, we can talk about that. That if they have coursework in this area and they would like some resources to be used, that's something that we could see if we could. There's an opportunity that we could think of.
That would be great. That would be fantastic.
And if any of the students want to come back and work with us, spend a summer here, I think that would be programming is one thing. There are other opportunities in the division and outside at Ames that would be really helpful for these people. So hope they have enjoyed it and will come back.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much. And again, I want to thank you and congratulate you on pulling this off so well. I mean, it was seamless. Your training was great. Your support was great. The systems all worked. And the students got a lot out of this. They really did. You've done a fantastic thing, and we just can't thank you enough. So thank you again. Good job, NASA. Anyway, that's it for this episode of the 2022 Intersect 360 Winter Classic Student Cluster Competition. We will be right back at you with more content soon, sooner rather than later. Thanks again.